This is LA Business Spotlight.
Greed is good.
Always be closing.
It's strictly business.
Welcome to LA Business Spotlight. I'm Joel Metzger. I'm really excited to have my next guests here today because, well, I love food. They are Diane and Lisa Scalia, the sister team behind Melting Pot Food Tours, which is the original food tasting tour company in Southern California. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thanks.
So there are a lot of tours in Southern California, a lot. What makes you guys so special?
I think we're special because we treat our tour guests like VIPs to begin. We show them a really great time. Our tours are thoroughly entertaining. They're not only kind of a food fest, a walking, tasting food fest, but it's a way to acquaint people with really special neighborhoods and the things in those neighborhoods that make them make the neighborhoods extraordinary. So we teach a little bit about the history, the culture. We introduce people to the merchants, tell their stories, the stories that are behind the food that make the food really taste even better, make it more special. We feed people silly. People rarely leave our tour and say they're hungry. They're going to go have lunch. So we pack a lot into 3.5 hours and give people a real first class time.
And if someone is a local, wants to be a tourist in their own city, or they have visitors from out of town, or people find us on the internet and come on one of our tours, what they're likely to experience is something very local, very genuine, very authentic. Yes.
Wow. How did you guys get started?
Well, it was a career change for me. I had the quintessential midlife, I wouldn't say midlife crisis, but it was more like woke up one day and thought, is this all there is? Is this all I'm going to do the rest of my life? I had been in the real estate. I'd been a real estate appraiser off and on for over 20 years. And I knew LA like the back of my hand, and I knew there were all these great little neighborhoods to discover. My passion is food and travel. And I thought, how can I combine those? And came up with this idea, and then did a little research and found out that there were similar ventures going on in other parts of the country, but the nearest one to Los Angeles was San Francisco. And I thought, why is nobody doing this in LA? And that was my sign that said, this is what you need to do. And then I quickly recruited my sister to join the fun with me.
Yeah, I'm a chef, so I have a long food background. I had a long food background at that hour of being a private chef and consulting chef, caterer, writer, media personality, instructor. So I can talk very intelligently about food. And we're lucky on our tours because they're about food and we meet the merchants and I learn about how the foods are prepared. I can offer a nice sidebar, if you will, to every dining experience because I know pretty much intimately what's in the food, how it's prepared, et cetera.
So do you form a partnership with these merchants, or how does that work?
Very much. The partnership would probably be like an understatement. We're like family by now. We only choose independently owned and operated establishments. Generally, they're family run, sometimes 3 generations of families that run our the places that we go, and we especially love the places that have a great story, right. That have a great presence in LA, that have a story, or they might be a real hidden gem that I always say people deserve to discover. So the merchants deserve these people to know that they're there. People who are foodies who come to LA deserve to know where these hidden gems are, because when we travel, we love to go where the locals go. We don't necessarily follow all the tourists. We like to go to the hidden spots or have our friends in town take us to their favorite places, and we really think that's where the best food is.
And you mentioned you have some of your customers are locals and then some are from out of town.
It's pretty, yeah, it sort of runs, April to October is really sort of the season, although the season in Southern California is pretty much 12 months a year. But we do get people from, generally during the spring and summer and early fall months, we get people that are either visiting from out of town that have found us on their own, or they are visiting family or friends that live here, and their hosts take them, think this is a fun thing to do. And then we get a lot of people. LA's such a big place that we'll get a lot of people from the Inland Empire and Santa Barbara area and Oxnard, and they'll come down, and it's like a day trip, for them. It's sort of
a day's vacation.
What we like to say is it's sort of an opportunity to be a tourist in your own city.
That's great. That's great. Well, that sounds like a great place to take a break. You're with LA Business Spotlight. I'm Joel Metzger, and we'll be right back with Diane and Lisa Scalia.
LA Business Spotlight is brought to you by Icebox Logic, makers of fine handcrafted audio and video. Go to iceboxlogic.net to see examples. Your company needs to communicate.
Welcome back. We are here with Diane and Lisa Scalia of Melting Pot Food Tours. So, what's your marketing strategy? Trying to find.
Well, we're essentially a web-based business, and so most of our time, effort, and resources go towards the SEO or search engine optimization, so that people have an easy time finding us. If they put in Tours LA, well, we should pop up on the first page. If they put Food Tours LA, we will pop up on the first page, or probably the first listing in most cases. So I'd say probably 95% of our traffic comes from them searching the internet for us. Other ways is we do a lot of networking and marketing. I've been to a few travel trade shows and built relationships with wholesale travel operators and stuff who now offer our tours through some of the big packages that they sell in Europe and Asia and overseas. And also, we have brochures in hotels, so if people are last minute and haven't made any plans while they're here, they could still get on a food tour even after they've checked into their hotel.
Yeah, and we also target Australia, the UK, English-speaking countries. We've entertained people from over 70 countries around the world, and a lot of our English-speaking guests find us on TripAdvisor. TripAdvisor pretty much is where we have some really, really wonderful reviews, very flattering reviews from people who have loved our tours, and people buy that and come to see what that's all about. So it's been really great, especially when we get people from all these far corners of the world.
Well, I'm really curious about what the experience of someone coming from Europe or Asia or somewhere else compared to someone who's coming from Downey. Is the expectation different, or is the south of the border food interesting to them, whereas we're kind of used to it here, or is it a different experience for people who are from another country? I
think it's food tours themselves have become quite popular. This type of thing. It wasn't so popular when we started 4 years ago, but they've sort of caught on now. So people think more about taking a food tour when they go to a place and they go to a location. So when people come to Southern California and do a food tour, I think they're amazed at the diversity that they find here. I mean, where our tours take place, 2 of the 3 tours anyway, you can eat your way around the world, and it's not even difficult to do. I mean, the Mexican restaurant is next to the Indian restaurant, is next to the Japanese restaurant. It's just the way our neighborhoods are built in Los Angeles, being the, quote, melting pot that we are. Right. And then our East LA tour is a Latin-themed tour. It's all Mexican food, but those are neighborhoods that people that live in LA, I mean, people that live across town or people that live in the outlying areas and stuff, they've never been there. They are curious about it. They've heard a lot about it, sometimes not the most favorable things about it. So we want to, again, dispel the myth that this is an area that you shouldn't be going into, because the treasures, several people that have been on all 3 of our tours think that is our best tour. It's
like where the best treasures are hidden, and the people that you meet are so amazing. Their stories are so inspirational, and it's not only Mexican food. It's kind of a smattering of Latin America, Central America. It's incredibly delicious.
That's really for a lot of people would be a day trip out of LA in their own city.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious about the neighborhoods. You're the expert in Los Angeles neighborhoods. Do you find them changing over the years? Like, for example, Little Tokyo used to be very homogenous, and then the demographic kind of shifts over the years. Do you find, I don't know how long you've been doing this, but do you find some of the neighborhoods have been changing over the years?
Not so much on the food tour front since we've been doing this, but definitely neighborhoods in LA have morphed.
We're from here. We were born and raised
here. We grew up here, and over the last 25, 30 years, we grew up in the San Gabriel Valley, which was pretty much a ethnic melting pot when we lived there and stuff. We're of Italian descent. There were a lot of other families of Italian descent. Now the whole valley is Asian. Primarily people coming from Hong Kong originally, and then from other parts of China. But there's so many fabulous neighborhoods if you're looking for, a real ethnic persuasion of one or another. And you've got Little India in Artesia. You've got Little Persia along Westwood Boulevard in West LA.
And one of our favorites is Gardena Torrens for Japanese, and there's also Peruvian Japanese in Gardena. It's amazing how the two cultures come together. We've gone to a couple of places with Peruvian Japanese, and I think that's really special. That's a really special type of ethnic food that a lot of people haven't experienced. So,
And you find a lot of neighborhoods that are evolving, or they're changing. They're old neighborhoods that are kind of seeing a new influx of young people, because sometimes the rents are less expensive and or they can afford to buy a home there. Highland Park is a good example. Highland Park all of a sudden has got this, this sort of collection of all different sort of independently owned restaurants,
bars, beer brewery,
breweries,
brewery.
yeah. And so it's just, it's fun because it's sort of like, who would ever think of going to dinner in Highland Park, but. Right. It's a destination.
Or lunch or brunch. It's
becoming a destination.
Really fun to check these kind of neighborhoods out.
Well, are there any neighborhoods, little corners of town that you don't have a tour there yet? You have kind of
There's lots of places we don't have tours. Yeah. It takes a while.
Place.
It takes a while for us to develop a tour, so we don't just slap them together and host them.
But do you have any new frontiers you want to explore, in the future?
Definitely downtown LA. Downtown LA to me is the most exciting dining destination in the city right now, and it's really funny because when we talk to people of an older generation, people that have lived here their whole lives and they're in their 60s and 70s and stuff, they're going, downtown, nobody goes downtown anymore.
Actually, they do. They're starting to. They haven't for a while.
So it's sort of funny to try to convince them, but they'll be great tour guests for us because they can see, they remember when it was thriving, then it went into a period of decline. Now it's thriving again. It's very much like our tour in Old Pasadena.
Right.
When we were growing up in the San Gabriel Valley, you didn't go to Old Pasadena. I mean, it was
just during the day for a couple hours and you left.
Yeah, you didn't go there at night. But now it's one of the most visited destinations in Southern California. Yet I love giving that tour and telling the stories. Well, this used to be the thrift store, and that was the vintage clothing store. Yeah,
it's also Old Pasadena is one of the most successful urban renewal projects in the whole country. So it's a really exciting, thriving entertainment center now.
Well, I would like to thank Diane and Lisa Scalia for coming on LA Business Spotlight. Would you tell everybody how to reach you guys on your website? Or
Absolutely. Well, that seems to be where most of our traffic comes from. So it is very easy. It's Melting Pot Tours, all three words spelled out completely, meltingpottours.com. Or you can give us a call. I'm usually in the office Monday through Friday at 424-247-9666, and I'll be happy to talk to you and answer any questions.
And if there's an email can go to info@meltingpottours.com.
Diane, Lisa, thanks for joining us on LA Business Spotlight.
Thanks
Pleasure,
for having
Joel.
us,
Thank
Joel.
you.
You've been listening to LA Business Spotlight. If you have a company or service and you'd like to appear on the show, send an email to info@iceboxlogic.net.
This podcast was recorded at the studios of Icebox Logic.